Dehya has been one of the most anticipated playable characters in Genshin Impact since we first saw her, and she is finally here. But there is a lot to talk about when it comes to Dehya. In this video, I want to break down everything you need to know about Dehya before you decide to pull for her or not. Her kit, playstyle and role on teams, her strengths, weaknesses, and best general build options, and of course, the standard banner situation going on. Look forward to my complete detailed Dehya guide coming in the next few days after I've had more time to really flesh out her mechanics and strength on the live servers. Dehya is a 5-star Pyro Claymore character with a very unique kit unlike any we've ever had in Genshin before. Like the bodyguard she is for Dunerzad, she mitigates damage and even redirects a large portion of that damage from your active character to herself, along with granting them resistance to interruption. A really sick and creative concept on its own. Let's get her normal attacks out of the way. It's a string of 4 strong hits with a sick sword tackle and punch at the end, but we most likely won't be using them very much. Her skill is the move that facilitates her whole kit though. When she uses her skill, Molten Inferno, it does damage based only on her attack, but creates a Fiery Sanctum field on the ground, which lasts 12 seconds. She can cast her skill again while the Fiery Sanctum is still up. It does a little more damage than the first activation, only scaling off her attack, and moves the Fiery Sanctum to wherever Dehya activated it the second time. Keep in mind, using the skill again will not refresh the duration. It will last a total of 12 seconds, no matter when the second activation is used. So what does this Fiery Sanctum do? Well, it does a few things. First, when an enemy within the Sanctum takes damage, they will get hit by a Pyro coordinated attack, scaling with Dehya's HP and attack. Think Raiden Shogun's skill, Xingqiu's skill, or even Yelan's burst. Here's where the bodyguard portion comes in. When your active character gets hit, the damage they take will be heavily mitigated, reduced, while a portion of that damage will be taken by Dehya instead. But this damage takes place over 10 seconds to Dehya, not immediately. Dehya is able to mitigate and absorb damage up to 200% of her max HP. This damage absorbing HP pool is called Redmane's Blood. But don't think that's a threshold that once multiple instances of damage have all accumulated to 200% of her HP, it stops working. It means she will mitigate and absorb every point of damage as long as her skill is up, so long as a single instance doesn't do over 200%. Like, she'll mitigate and absorb a hit that does 199% of her max HP, boom. And then if they hit her with another one that does 199% of her max HP, obviously that totals over 200% HP, but they were separate instances, so she's going to mitigate and absorb both of those hits totally fine. Also, keep in mind, she won't double dip on damage reduction from something like Xingqiu's Rain Sword's damage reduction. The initial hit will be reduced, but not the initial hit and the damage that Redmane's Blood takes as well. Your active character also gets interruption resistance when in the Sanctum, which is a huge boon for your on-field characters. Now, I know that was an absolute mouthful for a skill, but I promise that was the most complicated part of her kit. Her passive talents synergize with this whole concept, so let's go over them next. Her first passive, Unstinting Sucker, causes her to take 60% less damage when receiving damage through Redmane's Blood for 6 seconds after using either her burst or the second activation of her skill. And it also grants your active character even more stagger resistance when they're in a Fiery Sanctum. Her second passive, Stalwart and True, works like this. When Dehya's HP is less than 40%, she will immediately recover 20% of her max HP and also heal 6% of her max HP every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. So that's in total a recovery of 50% of her health over time if she dips below 40%. So it seems like there will be this really cool balancing act of constantly losing HP and then healing HP with Dehya. Finally, her burst puts her on the offensive, doing a very JoJo-esque barrage of hype fiery punches that scale with, you guessed it, her attack and HP. It will also take down a Fiery Sanctum if one exists for the duration of her burst and place a new one at the final impact spot of the last hit of her burst. This will not refresh the time of the Fiery Sanctum it grabs. It's going to put the timer on pause during her punches, and then when she sets it back down, the timer of however much time was left will start again. During her burst, her normal attack and elemental skill are going to be replaced with Roaring Barrage, which pretty much you're just going to mash the attack button as fast as you can so that you can get the max amount of hits out of her burst, which is 11. Also keep in mind, these punches are considered elemental burst damage, not normal attacks. So at a glance, Dehya seems to fill many different roles: a team-wide damage reducer without the use of a shield, an off-field pyro applicator, and the option to be a pyro sub DPS with her burst. So she shouldn't be seen as a main DPS since she has no pyro infusion on her normal attacks, and she wants to be off-field to support her allies. So with that in mind, it seems to me that her biggest boon for the team will be the damage mitigation and absorption, interruption resistance granted to allies in the Sanctum, and her off-field pyro application. Dehya works well at fulfilling the same role as many shielders like Thoma or Zhongli, while also being able to perform Thoma's role as well as an off-field pyro applicator. But while Dehya is able to heal herself through her passive, allies will still be taking damage, albeit reduced, so a healer might still be necessary for many of her comps. Now, before any complaints about split scaling with Dehya, Dehya does not really have split scaling. She has double scaling on 90% of her kit, which is infinitely better than split. Someone like Albedo has their skill scale with defense and their burst scale with attack. That is split scaling. But 90% of everything Dehya does in terms of damage scales with both attack and HP, which is a good thing. It makes more stats useful to her, and more artifact stat rolls help her out instead of being dead rolls. Some early team comp ideas that I think take advantage of all the benefits Dehya has to offer would be a Hu Tao vape team. Something like Hu Tao, Dehya, Yelan, and Xingqiu. Pyro Resonance and Hydro Resonance are both doing a lot of work here, benefiting practically every single member on the team. Dehya can help Hu Tao safely get lower on HP while protecting her from harm's way with all her support. Another idea I have is using her on a Ganyu melt team. Something like Ganyu, Dehya, Bennett, and Nahida, or an Animo character like Kazuha instead of Nahida, taking the place of Zhongli as your shielder and giving Ganyu Pyro Resonance along with the interruption resistance while she's on the field. It also sounds sick to drop Ganyu Burst into Dehya's Burst to hopefully melt some of those punches. Dehya is also really fun on Virgin teams with partners like Nahida, Xingqiu, and some extra healing like Barbara or maybe Kokomi, but the last slot is pretty flexible. So flexible, in fact, I think we could even run something like Kuki Shinobu, turning the team into a Virgin Hyperbloom Overload, reaction death squad. I'll report back in my full guide on my findings of what I think her best team comps are, but if you guys have some of these characters or these comps sound fun to you, I think they're really, really good options for Dehya right now. Dehya's signature weapon, Beacon of the Reed Sea, is unsurprisingly tailor-made for her. It has a respectable 608 base attack at level 90. It grants 33.1% crit rate and the following effects. When an elemental skill hits an opponent, the wielder gets a 20% attack boost. When the wielder takes damage, they also get another 20% attack boost. Both of these effects can be triggered while the wielder is off field. And for a little cherry on top, when the wielder is not protected by a shield, their max HP is increased by a whopping 32%. Now this is really important to note. It's when Dehya has a shield or not when any of Dehya's allies have a shield. So if Dehya is off field, your on-field character can have a shield up, no problem, and Dehya will still be granted the 32% bonus HP, which is of course gonna boost the damage of her skill and the HP she can absorb, etc. These weapons here can all be solid options for her as of now, and these artifact sets are looking to be really strong on her build I mentioned above. But I'll go into more detail on these and her constellations after further testing in my full guide. Now, something you should really think about before deciding to touch Dehya's banner is the standard banner situation. Starting in 3.6, Dehya is going to be a part of the standard banner pull. That means you're going to be able to pull her from the Wanderlust Invocation banner, and you're also going to be able to potentially pull her when you lose a 50-50 on the limited character banners. Once again, that's when 3.6 starts, so a full patch cycle from now. Dehya will not be in the standard pull during the latter half of 3.5 when Ayaka and Shenhe are the limited characters. We do need to talk about the pros and cons of Dehya being on the standard banner. Starting with the pros, it means players that either don't want to pull on this banner or aren't able to pull on her release banner may get their hands on a Dehya naturally in the future from a lost 50-50 or on the standard banner. I guess I could see the chance of longtime players or whales having a new character to pull from the standard banner pool as a pro, but it's still a 1 in 7 chance across all characters. And that, I'd say, is where the pros end. Notice in the pros I said you may get a Dehya. If you don't pull on this release banner, there's absolutely no guarantee that you will ever get a Dehya. I've got viewers over on my stream in the community that have been playing since release and they still don't have a Jean, or they still don't have Mona, or they still don't have Kaching. 1 in 7 is not great odds, and you may just get really unlucky and never get yourself a Dehya from this point on. Not to mention players who may want Diluc, for example, and don't have him, have an even lower chance of getting him now that Dehya is being added to the roster. So if you really want Dehya, getting her now on this initial banner is the only way to guarantee that you get Dehya. Also, for players who like to get character constellations over time, like getting Raiden C0 on her first banner, C1 on her second rerun banner, and finishing off with the C2 on the third banner, that strategy is just straight up not possible because Dehya is most likely never going to get another banner, which is really unfortunate for a lot of players that manage their primo gems this way. And finally, the allure and strength of standard banner characters is usually a bit toned down when compared to the limited 5-star characters, unfortunately. I hope this video helped you all get a better feel for Dehya's playstyle, kit, and team comp she's going to be on so that you guys can make a more well-informed decision on whether you want to pull for her or not. My complete detailed Dehya guide should be out this Friday, so make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you guys don't miss that or any of the other sick Genshin videos we're pumping out. I have been waiting personally for Dehya's release ever since they teased her in the Sumeru trailer like 6 months ago at this point. I absolutely love Dehya. I'm straight up going to be a Dehya main. I'm pulling for C2 and R1, her weapon. I've been saving my primos for a really, really long time. So I'm going to be testing her and trying to build the most cracked Dehya possible over on my stream literally all week, pretty much all month. So if you guys do want to check out the stream, I would appreciate it a ton. I think you guys will have a very, very fun time with me. Huge shout outs to my patrons that are supporting the content dream, Bake Sayu, Poison Tongue Boy, Zik, and Filthy Casual. I appreciate you guys and everybody else who supports any of these videos in any way, shape, or form. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Happy 3.5. I'll see you guys later.